opening the door to the building of the third Jewish temple. Some called it a kiss from heaven.
The red heifer, a sacred key to prophesy the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple in Jerusalem, hinges on a rare and sacred biblical requirement, the red heifer, according to Numbers 19 to 1-10. This animal must be entirely red, without a single blemish or hair of another color, and its ashes are essential for a purification ritual that cleanses those defiled by contact with the dead. Without this ritual, priests cannot enter holy grounds, and sacred temple objects remain impure, halting construction in accordance with biblical law. The standards are stringent. The heifer must have no physical defects, never have been used for labor, and even two off-colored hairs can disqualify it. For centuries, finding such a flawless animal has been nearly impossible, making the temple's reconstruction a distant dream. Recently, a Christian farmer in Texas, driven by prophetic conviction, raised red heifers under strict conditions, believing they could fulfill this 2,000-year-old prophecy. These animals were meticulously cared for, inspected by religious authorities, and flown to Israel, sparking fervent anticipation among Jews and Christians who follow eschatological timelines. The arrival of these heifers was seen as a potential breakthrough, a divine sign that the temple's rebuilding might be imminent. However, just days ago, devastating news emerged. Each heifer was disqualified due to the discovery of two off-colored hairs. This seemingly minor imperfection brought years of planning to a standstill. As the biblical law is uncompromising, the disqualification has left many questioning whether this is the end of the pursuit or the beginning of a deeper mystery. Some speculate that the Temple Institute, aware of the geopolitical sensitivity surrounding the temple site, might have conducted a secret ritual sacrifice, using the near-perfect heifers under the guise of a rehearsal to avoid public scrutiny. Leaked footage showing a supposed practice ritual has fueled these theories, raising doubts about whether the heifers were truly released to live as ordinary cattle. The overlap of the temple's proposed site with the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a sacred Islamic site, adds complexity, as any move toward construction risks igniting widespread outrage. This tension underscores the delicate balance between faith, prophecy, and politics, as Jerusalem remains a global focal point for religious anticipation. The Third Temple's prophetic vision of rebuilding the Third Temple has been a cornerstone of Jewish tradition for centuries, symbolizing the restoration of God's presence on earth and the anticipated arrival of the Messiah. Isaiah 2:2-3 envisions the temple as a house of prayer for all nations, with God's law emanating from Jerusalem to the world. For Jews, the temple's reconstruction would mark divine favor and the fulfillment of messianic promises. However, for many Christians, the temple's rebuilding carries a starkly different meaning, rooted in New Testament prophecies. Passages like 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 and Revelation 11 suggest that the temple will be the stage for the Antichrist, who will declare himself God within its walls, ushering in the final tribulation. This divergence creates a profound theological divide, with the temple's construction stirring both hope and apocalyptic concern across faiths. The recent disqualification of the red heifers has intensified these discussions, as believers from both traditions watch Jerusalem for signs of prophecy unfolding. The temple's significance extends beyond religion, touching geopolitical nerves due to its proposed location on the Temple Mount, where the Al-Aqsa Mosque stands. Any step toward construction could spark conflict, making the temple a flashpoint for both spiritual and political tensions. The red heifer saga, with its abrupt halt, has only deepened the intrigue, prompting questions about whether divine timing or human intervention is at play. Some Christian scholars argue that the temple's rebuilding is not a prerequisite for Christ's return, citing 1 Corinthians 3:16-17, which describes believers as God's temple. Yet, the physical temple remains a powerful symbol, and its pursuit continues to captivate those who see it as a harbinger of end-times events. Whether messianic or apocalyptic, controversy and speculation around the first disqualification of the red heifers has sparked intense controversy and suspicion, as the lack of transparency from Israeli authorities fuels speculation about what truly happened. Official reports state that the heifers, including those raised by the Texas farmer, were rejected due to too off-colored hairs. Adhering to the strict biblical standards of Numbers 19, however, the absence of clear, verifiable statements has led some to question whether the heifers were simply released to live as ordinary cattle, as claimed, or if a clandestine ritual took place. Leaked footage showing a supposed rehearsal sacrifice has raised eyebrows, with skeptics wondering if this was a cover for an actual ceremony conducted away from public and political scrutiny. The Temple Institute, tasked with preparing for the temple's reconstruction, faces immense pressure, as the temple's site overlaps with the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of Islam's holiest sites. Announcing a sacrifice or construction plans could ignite widespread outrage across the Muslim world, making secrecy a tempting option. Matthew 20:15, where Jesus speaks of the abomination of desolation in the holy place, adds a prophetic layer, with some interpreting a secret sacrifice as a step toward this moment. The farmer in Texas, who believed his heifers were divinely chosen, saw years of faith and effort undone by this disqualification, or so the official narrative claims. Theories abound that the ashes of a near-perfect heifer might already be hidden, awaiting the right moment to initiate temple rituals. The silence from Israel, combined with the high stakes of prophecy and geopolitics, suggests that something larger may be unfolding behind closed doors, keeping the red heifer mystery alive and unresolved. Cornerstone preparations and spiritual symbolism in parallel with the red heifer saga. Physical preparations for the third temple are advancing, symbolizing a tangible step toward prophecy. In the town of Eli, workers, including former Knesset member Moshe Feiglin, have been carving a cornerstone with reverence, echoing the silent precision described in 1 Kings 6 during Solomon's temple construction. This stone, designed with two polished sides, represents both strength and the beauty of the envisioned temple. Intended as the foundation for the house of God, Feiglin, wielding hammer and chisel, prayed for unity and faithfulness, infusing the act with spiritual weight. The team awaits government approval to lay the stone, with all other preparations in place, signaling readiness to move forward. Psalm 118:22. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone resonates deeply, stirring reflection among believers about divine rejection and redemption. These efforts, though small in scale, carry profound significance, as they mirror the intentional craftsmanship of ancient times. The cornerstone's preparation is not just a physical act, but a symbolic one, pointing to the hope of restoring God's presence on earth. However, the sensitive location of the Temple Mount complicates these plans, as any move could provoke international backlash. The cornerstone's creation, combined with the red heifer controversy, underscores the interplay of faith, prophecy, and practical challenges, as believers strive to align human efforts with divine timing. The Temple Mount Faithful and Institute's efforts since the 1960s. Organizations like the Temple Mount and Land of Israel Faithful, led by Gershon Salomon, and the Temple Institute have spearheaded efforts to rebuild the Third Temple. Salomon, a military veteran who claims a divine vision from a near-death experience during a 1958 battle, has led annual processions since 1989 to place a cornerstone on the Temple Mount, a symbolic act to rally support. The Temple Institute, with over $20 million invested, has meticulously crafted sacred items, including a $30,000 golden crown, a $2 million gold menorah, and priestly garments, based on extensive biblical research. A full-scale temple model near the Dead Sea trains priests, supported by some Christians who view the temple's return as a precursor to Jesus' second coming. Despite competing visions, both groups share a commitment to restoring the temple, navigating a complex landscape of faith, politics, and opposition from those who see the temple's site as sacred to Islam. Solomon's personal history, rooted in his ancestor Rabbi Abraham Shlomo Zorof's 19th century efforts, adds a legacy of dedication, though his assassination by Arabs underscores the risks involved. The Institute's golden menorah, moved closer to the Temple Mountain, 2007, symbolizes progress toward this goal. These efforts, supported by some Christian ministries, highlight the global interest in the temple's reconstruction, even as political and religious tensions make the path forward fraught with challenges. Celestial signs and the eastern gates stirring Jerusalem's skies have recently displayed extraordinary phenomena, fueling speculation about divine signs and the city's prophetic role. Witnesses report glowing lights, angelic figures, and a radiant figure some identify as Jesus, accompanied by trumpet-like sounds echoing over the Temple Mount. These events, described as shimmering orbs and a pulsating glow, evoke biblical accounts like the trumpet blast at Mount Sinai Exodus 19 or the angel's call at Christ's return 1 Thessalonians 4. Concurrently, the sealed Eastern Gate, or Gate of Mercy, facing the Mount of Olives, is stirring attention. Sealed since 1541 by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman, it is believed to be the gate through which the Messiah will enter, as referenced in Matthew 21. Reports of vibrations and faint sounds near the gate suggest spiritual movement, with some seeing these as invitations to prepare for divine revelation, while skeptics attribute the lights and sounds to natural or man-made causes. Believers view them as harbingers of the end times, urging spiritual readiness. Revelation 11:15-19's seventh trumpet judgment, signaling Christ's triumph, resonates with these events, prompting calls to live in holiness as God's temple 1 Corinthians 3:16-17. As Jerusalem remains a prophetic epicenter, these signs challenge believers to watch, pray, and prepare for the King's return, whether imminent or distant.